Ultimate X-Men is a superhero comic book series that was published by Marvel Comics from 2001 to 2009. The series is a modernized reimagining of Marvel's long-running X-Men comic book franchise as part of its Ultimate Marvel imprint. The Ultimate X-Men exist alongside other revamped Marvel characters in Ultimate Marvel titles including Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate Fantastic Four, and the Ultimates. The protagonists are the X-Men, a group of mutants whose unusual genetics grant them superpowers which set them apart from the rest of humanity. They are led by Professor Charles Xavier, the world's most powerful telepath. The series features many characters and storylines similar to those of the original X-Men series. Ultimate X-Men almost completely ignores supernatural or mystical elements as plot devices, and the X-Men have no secret identities, and mutants are mistrusted and hunted down. The series began in 2001 under writer Mark Millar and artists Adam Kubert and Andy Kubert, whilst the final issues of the series were written by Aaron Colite and penciled by Mark Brooks. A quasi-sequel spin-off titled Ultimate Comics X began in February 2010, but only lasted for 5 issues. The series focused on Wolverine's secret son Jimmy Hudson, Jean Grey, and several other mutants dealing with the aftermath of Ultimatum. Ultimate X-Men was then relaunched by Nick Spencer and Paco Medina, with the title now called Ultimate Comics X-Men Publishing History. Upon its debut in February 2001, Ultimate X-Men was the second comic of the Ultimate Marvel line, preceded a few months by its sister title Ultimate Spider-Man. The heads of the Ultimate Universe line, Bill Jemas and Joe Quesada, originally tried to hire Brian Michael Bendis to write the title, but he declined. Marvel hired Scottish writer Mark Millar, who was best known at the time for his run on The Authority and was largely ignorant of the X-Men franchise. With the first X-Men film as his only reference, Millar reinvented the X-Men. As a result, Millar's original X-Men consisted of telepath Professor X, Cyclops, whose eyes shoot concussive beams, telepathic and telekinetic Jean Grey, weather-manipulating Storm, simian genius Beast, metal-skinned Colossus, and cryokinetic Iceman. Common to the Millar period was an edgy tone, featuring quick action-driven plots and less moral X-Men. For instance, Wolverine tries to kill Cyclops in Return of the King, because he is envious of Jean's love. In an interview with Sequential Tart, Millar commented, "You're not competing with Cartoon Network on these books, you're competing with Buffy. Superhero comics and adult, but they shouldn't be written for 5-year-olds either." Millar shaped Ultimate X-Men into a commercial hit, consistently outselling its sister titles, Extreme X-Men and Uncanny X-Men, and staying just behind Grant Morrison's experimental and popular New X-Men run. After Mark Millar's run, Ultimate Spider-Man writer Brian Michael Bendis took over for a year. Bendis stated that his run on the book would be more character-driven, especially concerning Wolverine, who had previously tried to kill his teammate Cyclops. Bendis' run was marked by the relative absence of major villains and was also notorious for killing Beast, who was killed when a Sentinel attacked the White House during Emma Frost's public disclosure of her school. This made Beast the first dead Ultimate X-Man. As a side note, Ultimate X-Men number 40 features what in Marvel claims to be the first marriage proposal in a comic book letters column, which is answered in Ultimate X-Men number 44 with a positive response. The third Ultimate X-Men writer was Brian K. Vaughan, best known at the time for his work on The Last Man. His run was marked by the relative absence of Wolverine as the main character and the reimagining of second-string X-Men characters. He introduced Mr. Sinister as a mutant-killing scientist with hypnosis and stealth powers in The Tempest, German twins Fenris as mutant corporate criminals in Cry Wolf, as well as Mojo and Longshot as a corrupt TV producer and a mutant felon, respectively in The Most Dangerous Game. Both are of non-alien origin in this world and have the civilian names Mojo Adams and Arthur Santino, a play on the names of the creators, writer and no-sentient artist Art Adams. Further arcs were centered on Professor X and Deathstrike in Shock and Awe. Lady Deathstrike possesses adamantium claws and regenerative powers. Vaughn also reintroduced Emma Frost's mutant team and Magneto in Magnetic North, and established Ultimate Colossus to be homosexual. Vaughn's run was followed by Robert Kirkman, author of The Walking Dead and Invincible comic books. Kirkman's run was noted for adapting several major story arcs from the regular X-Men series. These included Jean Grey's transformation into Phoenix, the arrival of Cable and Bishop, and the appearance of Apocalypse. Kirkman reintroduced Wolverine as an important character, and played with issues of team loyalty. Under his authorship, major characters such as Nightcrawler and Colossus left the team. His tenure also featured Cyclops' decision to turn Xavier's into a more traditional school and consequently disband the X-Men. When this was done, an alternate team of X-Men was formed by Bishop as part of the upcoming fight against Apocalypse. After the Ultimatum storyline, nearly all of the X-Men were killed, and the team disbanded. After the events in Ultimatum, the book, along with Ultimate Fantastic Four, was cancelled after its 100th issue. A follow-up one-shot called Requiem was released and concluded the series' story. A new series, Ultimate Comics X, debuted in early 2010 and featured Kitty Pryde, Wolverine's son, Jimmy Hudson and Jean Grey. Ultimate X-Men was then relaunched as Ultimate Comics X-Men with writer Nick Spencer and artist Paco Medina. The series stars Jimmy Hudson, Kitty Pryde, Johnny Storm, Bobby Drake and Rogue. Commercial success. Ultimate X-Men quickly established itself as a hit comic, lauded by critics and popular with the fans. The following table shows the development of comic sales in comparison to the mainstream titles. Characters. X-Men. Professor Charles Xavier, telepath and telekinetic, is the founder and patron of the X-Men. He is an idealist and a pacifist, but less saintly than his mainstream counterpart. The Professor possesses vast knowledge and acquires advanced surgical skills he gleans from reading surgeons' minds. He is the ex-husband of Dr. Moira McTaggart, with whom he worked to help mutants, devising new therapies and surgical techniques for the unique patients, and had a son named David. Xavier has also been in relationships with Emma Frost and Mystique. He suffered a spinal injury at the hands of his old friend, Magneto, during an escape from his increasingly militaristic island society, the Savage Land, an injury that left him a paraplegic and ultimately a wheelchair user. He has a business relationship with the mysterious Lilandra, the Majestrix of the pagan Shia cult. After Jean Grey is kidnapped by the time-traveling Cable, Professor Xavier reveals to Cyclops that he is in love with her. Professor X is seemingly killed when he dives to protect Cyclops from a bomb that Cable detonates. It is subsequently revealed that he did not die, but was transported to Cable's future. He is, however, murdered by Magneto in the Ultimatum miniseries. Angel. Warren Worthington III is a handsome, shy, winged mutant. He is Dazzler's boyfriend before she is put into a coma. He has been expelled from the X-Men. In reality, he is spying on Emma Frost for Xavier. Without Bishop's consent, Dazzler has recruited him to be a part of the new X-Men. Angel is later killed by Sinister as part of Apocalypse's resurrection, but is restored to life by the Phoenix. He is later killed again by Sabretooth in Ultimatum. Beast, simian mutant and genius Henry Hank McCoy is turned into a blue, furry beast by the Insidia Weapon X project. He serves as the team's elite engineer, upgrading the Blackbird and Danger Room sequences. When chatting online to the Blob, he accidentally reveals Magneto survived Xavier's earlier attack. He has a troubled romance with Storm, until he is killed in a Sentinel attack. It is revealed that Hank has been alive all this time, secretly working for SHIELD on the Legacy virus, until he escapes to return to the X-Men and Storm. Beast eventually dies in the Ultimatum wave. Bishop, time traveler Lucas Bishop traveled from the future to the present in an attempt to save Charles Xavier from Cable, but failed and became stuck in the past. Bishop then formed an alternate team of X-Men consisting of Storm, Pyro, Dazzler, Angel, Wolverine and Psylocke. Wolverine stabbed and killed Bishop after he stopped the X-Men from preventing Angel's death. Colossus, Piotr, Peter, Rasputin, can turn into organic steel and reluctantly works as an arms smuggler before joining the X-Men. Recently, Colossus has made peace with his former friend Nightcrawler. Colossus in Ultimate X-Men can transmute his entire body into organic steel, a form which gives him seeming invulnerability and superhuman strength. Cyclops, Scott Summers, whose eyes emit concussive blasts, is the Boy Scout-like X-Men field leader. Initially shy and aloof, he learns to be an unrivaled leader and pursue his interests, notably the love of Jean Grey, an interest that has often puts him at odds with his teammate Wolverine. He revisits his dead parents in a dream world he calls Corsair. After the death of Xavier, Cyclops disbands the X-Men to utilize the school as a safe haven and educational center for mutants. He is assassinated by Quicksilver at the end of the Ultimatum event. Dazzler Allison Allie Blair is a tough-as-nails rock singer with photovoltaic powers who is heavily pierced and tattooed and wears slashed clothing. She becomes Angel's girlfriend after he takes the blame for something she does. She is stabbed and put into a coma by Storm's old mentor, Lady Deathstrike. During her recovery, Nightcrawler develops an obsessive crush on her, eventually culminating in him kidnapping her when she awakes. She leaves the team in disgust when Xavier tries to rehabilitate him. Bishop later recruits Dazzler as a member of his new X-Men team. She dies in the Ultimatum wave. Iceman, Robert Bobby Drake, is a hot-headed youth with cold-based powers, who is in the throes of puberty but loyal to the X-Men's cause. He is very fickle, pursuing girls then losing interest and back to being interested again. He has a fear of Magneto and is often seen eating or playing video games. Recently, he rekindled his relationship with Rogue when her absorbing powers were halted after she absorbed Gambit's powers for an extended period of time. Marvel Girl, or Jean Grey, has telepathic and telekinetic powers. She is outgoing, witty, and scathingly sarcastic, but can also be a very responsible young woman and is the unofficial second-in-command behind Cyclops. After an affair with Wolverine, she begins a steady relationship with Cyclops. The Shia religion believes Jean to be the host of the Phoenix Force, the supposed god. Jean becomes the headmistress of the school, alongside Scott, after Xavier supposedly dies. When the X-Men battle Apocalypse, she merges with the Phoenix and destroys him with her godlike abilities and restarts time so this event will not happen. She leaves the team but returns promptly. To the surprise of the others, Nightcrawler, the Bavarian mutant teleporter Kurt Wagner, is a former Weapon X prisoner. He has a crush on Dazzler and is resentful that she chose Angel instead of him. Despite his own struggles with being rejected for being different, he is uncomfortable with Colossus's homosexuality and shuns him as a friend. He was being kept sedated after a failed attempt to kidnap Dazzler, but eventually escaped after Xavier's death. Nightcrawler would go on to not only join the Morlocks but become their chosen leader. He is later killed in the Ultimatum wave. Northstar, Jean-Paul Beaubier, was once offered to join the X-Men but declined, saying that separating themselves from humans is segregation. He was later recruited by Emma Frost to join the Academy of Tomorrow, a magnet school for gifted children, both mutant and human, with a more pacifistic and integrationist philosophy than the X-Men. After a battle with Alpha Flight, Northstar's apparent former comrades, Colossus finds Northstar overdosing on the mutant drug Banshee. The drug cripples Northstar from the waist down. Psylocke Betsy Braddock first appeared in the World Tour arc, during which she was assigned to search for Xavier's son, David. During the investigation, however, Betsy was possessed by David and he almost succeeded in killing Xavier and the X-Men. Betsy managed to overcome the possession for a brief moment and Colossus dropped a car on her, killing both Betsy and Proteus. Betsy's consciousness survived, however, somehow moving into the comatose body of an Asian girl named Kwannon. She is a powerful telepath who can create psychic blades. Bishop recruits her into his new X-Men, Pyro, a pyrokinetic mutant whose name in this continuity remains unknown. First encountered by Nightcrawler after the supposed death of the Professor, Pyro had been a member of the Morlocks but decided to join the X-Men. This goal was achieved after Bishop and Storm recruited him onto the team. Psylocke decided to send him undercover into the Mutant Liberation Front as a spy, a post he was forced to abandon when the front was attacked by Sentinels. Pyro then rejoined his teammates. Rogue, or Marion, originally drains life force and memories on skin contact. She is abducted into the Weapon X program under unknown circumstances. Like her mainstream counterpart, she can absorb mutant powers. When she is liberated, she first joins the Brotherhood of Mutant Supremacy, then defects to the X-Men, then leaves the team in the company of Gambit after her boyfriend Bobby Drake cheats on her with Kitty Pryde. After absorbing his powers, which last for an extended period of time, during a battle with Juggernaut, she inherits his energy-charging powers. This negates her absorbing power and she becomes able to touch people without draining their abilities or memories, as shown when she and her ex-boyfriend, Iceman, have sex in the Date Night arc. These powers have since faded, leaving her with her previous absorbing powers. Shadowcat Kitty Pryde can walk through walls. She is a young, but dedicated girl. Like her mainstream counterpart, her devotion to her Jewish faith is evidenced by her ever-present Star of David. In Ultimate Spider-Man Annual No. 1, she begins dating Peter Parker, better known as Spider-Man. She left the team to live with her mother in Queens, where she is now enrolled in Peter Parker's high school. Her relationship with Peter has ended, however, and she has shown an interest in dating Peter's classmate Kenny Kong McFarlane. Storm, Ororo Munro, like the phenomena from which she takes her name, has a unique mutant ability which allows her to harness and manipulate forces of nature. Calling upon the elements, she can manifest violent storms, summon lightning from a benign sky, create blizzards instantly, and even whip up winds to bear herself aloft. a streetwise car thief who hails from Morocco. Oriro's sharp wit and cynicism can make her come off as arrogant, but with that arrogance comes a near unparalleled sense of level-headedness that allows her to temper as the voice of reason among the X-Men. Between the purported death of her boyfriend Beast, her fleeting relationships with Wolverine, and her role as second-in-command of Bishop's X-Men, Oriro's confidence has continued to grow, as has her skill with her mutant abilities. Syndicate conjoined twins, Luke and Matthew, working as private agents for Professor X. They are never seen with the rest of the X-Men until Ultimate X-Men number 93, when they become X-Men. The Heart gives off an EMP and can create a charge. Is eventually murdered by Stryker. Toad is a deformed mutant who has bulging yellow eyes, green skin, and webbed hands and feet. Toad can jump great distances and hide, is super strong and agile, can spit a heavy mucus that can harden into a shell, and has a long prehensile tongue that he can use in addition to his 4 limbs. In the beginning, Toad was a member of the Brotherhood of Mutants. When Cyclops joined the Brotherhood for a time, he and Toad became friends. When Xavier disappeared, Toad came to the X-Men's school to be a gym teacher. Though Jean Grey disapproved, Cyclops defended Toad. Toad has helped the X-Men in several occasions since then and officially became an X-Man when Xavier returned from the future and Phoenix defeated Apocalypse. Toad now wears an X-Men bandana much like the one Iceman used to wear. Wolverine, James Logan Howlett, has animal instincts and extreme regeneration powers. He is turned into an amnesiac, emotionless killer by Weapon X. He resurfaces as the cold-blooded elite assassin of Magneto and infiltrates the X-Men to kill Professor X. He betrays Magneto, however, and joins the X-Men after coming to understand and believe in Xavier's cause. Over the course of the series, in between attacks by former members of Weapon X, Wolverine has searched for answers regarding his long-forgotten past. He is killed by Magneto near the end of the Ultimatum series. Firestar. Firestar is seen with the X-Men beginning with issue number 94. During a baseball game, they are attacked by the ultimate version of Alpha Flight and Firestar is attacked and subdued by Sunfire. The character, however, is previously introduced as a classmate to Peter Parker in Ultimate Spider-Man. Villains and supporting cast. Ultimate X-Men introduced revised versions of classic X-Men villains, such as mutant supremacist, would-be world conqueror, and evil genius mastermind Magneto. He heads the anti-human, genetic terrorist group Brotherhood of Mutants. The series also features the amoral, Mangala-like mutant superweapon Project Weapon X, the shady Hellfire Club and many more. In addition, the Academy of Tomorrow is the ultimate Marvel version of a spin-off X-Men team called the New Mutants. In this world, the group consists of Headmistress Emma Frost, who can turn her skin into organic diamond; Cyclops' older brother Havoc, who shoots concussive blasts from his hands; Airborne Sam Guthrie, or Cannonball; non-mutant genius Doug Ramsey, also known as Cypher P; Canadian speedster Jean-Paul Beaubier, or Northstar; Havoc's girlfriend, Lorna Dane; the Magnekinetic Polaris, Roberto da Costa; the Brazilian solar-powered Sunspot; and recently Angel. In addition, the Shia are a religious movement led by Majestrix Lilandra. They worship the Phoenix God, which they think is reincarnated in the X-Man Marvel Girl. The ultimate version of Cable is revealed to be a future version of Wolverine, who kidnaps Charles Xavier in an attempt to prevent the coming of Apocalypse. Syndicate is the name of two mutants, psi-resistant conjoined twins named Luke and Matthew. They try to rob a bank to help the terminally ill sister, but is stopped by Professor X. Realizing the plight, he gives them a chance to redeem themselves by working as his private agents. Created by Brian K. Vaughan and Steve Dillon, they first appeared in Ultimate X-Men number 58. The characters have an unusual heart which pumps out electromagnetic pulses with each beat. This disables almost any electrical system. Their interlinked brain matter also makes them immune to telepathic control, although they are still susceptible to mind readings. In the shared universe of Ultimate Marvel, the X-Men have more than once crossed the paths of other superheroes. Peter Parker is a good friend of the X-Men and is Shadowcat's ex-boyfriend. The X-Men share a wary truce with Nick Fury and the Ultimates, who have been both the best benefactors and worst enemies in the past. The Ultimate Fantastic Four have met the X-Men in Ultimate X4, and the teams are generally on positive terms. Settings: the X-Men live in the expansion in Westchester, New York. Its location was a secret at first, but is now known to the world. It contains the Danger Room, a virtual reality dome in which the X-Men can fight against hard-light holographic enemies. It has been used several times for in-jokes and popular culture references. Once, the Junior X-Men fought the Brood, and for recreation, Nightcrawler simulated scenes similar to Pirates of the Caribbean and The Lord of the Rings. Genosha is an apartheid state in which mutants are discriminated against. Krakow is an island not far off Genosha, where Mojo Adams' Hunt for Justice reality show is held. Muir Island is an island in the north of Scotland and the location of Dr. Moira McTaggart's lab. In other media, in the video games X-Men Legends and X-Men Legends 2, Rise of Apocalypse, the characteristic tight black and golden costumes of Ultimate X-Men are the default outfits of the X-Men. The traditional costumes can be unlocked as throwbacks after the player has unlocked them by completing acts within the game. Additionally, many of the other characters have their ultimate costumes as the default outfit. Characters in these games who had not yet appeared in Ultimate X-Men at the time that the games were released either appear wearing their Earth 616 costumes or appear in a new costume that is in the same black and gold style as the Ultimate X-Men suits. In the X-Men Evolution animated series, Wolverine wears his Ultimate X-Men look from Season 3 onwards. In the final episode Ascension, future adult versions of the Teenage X-Men can be seen. The normally bright, colorful costumes have changed into the dark Ultimate X-Men outfits. In Wolverine and the X-Men, in the final arc, a fleet of Sentinels are sent to Genosha to attack Magneto and the mutants living there. However, like in the Tomorrow People, Magneto disassembles all of the Sentinels, reprogramming them to attack humans. He then launches an attack upon New York. Ultimate X-Men Volume 1, The Tomorrow People appears in 9 parts as an unlockable in Marvel Nemesis, Rise of the Imperfects. Each part is unlocked after completing her specific bonus level. Wolverine, Storm, Colossus and Iceman appear in the video game Marvel Ultimate Alliance. In the game, Colossus and Iceman have their ultimate costumes as the default costumes worn during all cutscenes that they appear in, although it is possible to unlock their Earth 616 costumes as alternates later in the game. Wolverine and Storm appear in what would be the then-current Earth 616 costumes as defaults, with their ultimate costumes as alternates. Nightcrawler also appears in his ultimate costume during the Escape from Castle Doom cutscene, in which he features prominently. The Xbox 360 Hero expansion pack added Cyclops and Nightcrawler as playable characters. Both have their ultimate costumes as an alternate outfit. Collected editions. Ultimate X-Men has been collected in the following trade paperbacks. Ultimate X-Men also has been collected in the following hardcovers.